Welcome to In the Loop, where we tell the stories behind Asia's most resonant new music. Today, we follow a band that didn't start with dreams of stadiums or charts, but with 4 young men who just wanted to be heard. This is the story of EON, a group that glows quietly, like fireflies in the dark. Let's begin. Before there was music, there was distance. Jihan lived in Gangwon, working in his parents' cafe. Between pouring lattes and wiping tables, he'd write lyrics on napkins, lines no one else ever read. Seoul played on the streets of Busan, just him and his guitar. Sometimes people stopped, most didn't. Ryu trained in a Seoul dance academy, surrounded by mirrors, judged by every angle. He moved with precision, but didn't know who he was dancing for. Minho spent his afternoons in a tiny record shop in Incheon. Surrounded by legends on vinyl, he quietly wondered if his voice could ever matter too. They didn't know each other, but they were all humming the same tune, "There's more to me than this." Each of them wanted something they couldn't quite name. Not just success, not even fame. They wanted connection, a way to turn all the late-night thoughts and quiet sadness into sound. That's when, by chance or maybe fate, they all ended up at the same low-key songwriting retreat in Jeju. At first, they barely spoke, but when they shared their unfinished songs, something clicked. They didn't just harmonize, they understood. They weren't 4 solo acts anymore. They were becoming something to whole. Back in Seoul, they made a decision. They moved into a shared attic studio. Small, cold in the mornings, loud at night. They scribbled lyrics on the walls, recorded on borrowed gear, and made ramen stretch for 3 days. They called themselves EON, not for eternity in time, but for presence and feeling. They didn't want to be an idol group. They wanted to make music that stays beside you even in silence. That was the start of their debut project, Glow. But harmony isn't always easy. Jihan wanted structure, Seoul wanted rawness. Minho sometimes felt invisible in the process. Ryu pushed for perfection until it broke them down. They argued about lyrics, about purpose, about what kind of band they were becoming. One night, Ryu walked out. Another night, Jihan said maybe this wasn't going to work. But something kept them together. They remembered how it felt to not belong. And they refused to do that to each other. They finished the EP with no producer, no label, no promotions. Just music. They uploaded it quietly, not expecting much. And then, it happened. Echo in the Rain began to spread. Not in millions of views, but in messages. I found this at 3 a.m. I needed this. This feels like what I couldn't say. They didn't just release a song. They created a mirror reflecting emotions others thought they had to hide. But when you sing your truth, the world doesn't always clap. Some called them too soft. Others picked apart their lyrics. Minho received hate comments. Jihan stopped writing for weeks. Ryu began doubting if his drive for perfection had pushed them too far. Seoul began questioning his lyrics, wondering if honesty was too much. Their small studio grew quiet. No interviews, no new songs. They wondered, had they said everything they needed to say? A year later, they returned to where it all began, Jeju. No cameras, no pressure, just them and a guitar. They sat on the beach where they first shared songs. They didn't try to impress anyone. They just played. And in that simple act, they remembered why they started. Not to be heard by the world, but to hear each other. Today, EON isn't chasing a sound. They are the sound. A sound for people who feel too much. For the ones who cry quietly on buses. For the ones who never thought anyone would write a song for them. Glow wasn't just their debut. It was their message. Even if no one claps, we'll keep singing. Because sometimes, music doesn't need to echo in stadiums. Sometimes, it just needs to glow in the dark, with you. This is EON, and this has been In the Loop. I'm Charlie. Thanks for listening to The Glow Between the Notes.
No script, no stage, no crowd, but your soul still sings out loud. We don't need the world to cheer, we just need to stay sincere. You hum alone, our heart